to see you all again. Excited to get going with the big opportunity here with Florida coming into our place here this Saturday. So looking forward to that challenge. Florida is always an extremely talented football team, very well coached, and we'll have our hands full. Very proud of our players. I thought we did some really good things this past week in a hostile environment. Obviously, I'm sure I'll get questions about it, and there's no excuse. I mean, we have to clean up the turnovers, the fumbles in particular, and we will work extremely hard on that this week. I believe it's something that we could get corrected, and we will. But again, I really appreciate our kids' effort. Really had a great week of preparation last week. We're very excited to play. Once again, played extremely physical, extremely fast, in particular on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, very physical. Again, anytime you could run the ball, have that kind of success, good things are going to happen. Anticipated throwing the ball more. The turnovers didn't help, and the success in the run game helped us as well. So, again, back to work yesterday for the coaches and preparing for a really talented Florida team. Dan Mullen calling the plays offensively, always is a great play caller. Very talented players as usual. Very physical run game, rushing for over 300 yards a game is extremely impressive. And then defensively with Todd Grantham, does a wonderful job. A lot of respect for Todd and his defensive philosophies and the way they play. Very, very long, athletic defensive group. So all in all, very good team, and it'll be a great challenge, and really looking forward to having a great home atmosphere here this weekend.
Mark, how concerned are you that Chris may fumble one time too many, especially at a time where he can release the quarter fumble?
Well, I mean, of course. I mean, I'm confident that Chris will get it corrected. Any time you let things go to the point where they are right now, there's a concern and it needs to be addressed. There's no denying that. I'm not at all at a point where we need to be in a state of panic or anything, but we have to get any habits that we're creating early in the season here, we got to get corrected.
What are you telling me? That play, both those plays look pretty good, except for the fact that he's just loose.
Yeah, I think the second one in particular, once he cut it inside, the ball was too loose, and he could have put two hands on it at that point. You're going to get hit by some big physical guys, and at that point, you got to cover it up with two hands.
Is that something just him getting used to see kind of run against, because he's kind of going up against different types of guys?
It is. There's been times in the past here, sometimes when we used to run the tunnel screens and they're coming outside in and the receivers are getting the ball up in the middle of traffic. Running backs are used to running it in between the tackles, but wide receivers, it's a little different beast, when you have these big guys redirected and coming back at you. In this case, it was just a safety coming up, put his hat right on the ball, made a really good tackle. But at that point, once Josh cut it up inside, made a good move, had the first down, he's got to cover up at that point and take the yards that were given to him.
What goes into your confidence or keeping confidence in your running backs despite fumbles? Do you just tell them to have a short memory? Do you have a short memory and say get after it?
Absolutely. Again, it needs to be addressed. It will be addressed. There's no excuse. But I'm not going to sit here and it's not going to be the end-all, be-all. It can't be. There's a lot of good things going on, and, it simply cannot happen. I mean, we understand that. We're going to technically talk about it and go through things, and then you got to move on.
Do you anticipate any developments in the burglary case this week?
I hope so. No updates at this point in time for me that I know.
Is he expected to return to practice?
He's been working and getting better, but he's just been with the trainers at this point.
Jalen Geiger, he seemed to really show up in some important moments. How have you seen him progress, even though you've been a little?
Yeah, I think it was really good for Jalen. I think he's the type of player, like most guys, they just need some reps. I think it's a confidence factor. Once he gets playing more and more, you see him getting better as this season is going on. And I really thought he played definitely his best game and got some good quality reps this past Saturday and made some really important plays for us. So I was happy for him going back to his hometown and really playing well.
What do you think of Offs? Have you gotten started?
Yeah, Ox is showing some flashes again. I thought he really did a nice job. He redirected, chased the quarterback down on a QB keep. That was a minimal gain, and did some. He's playing fast. He's doing some really good things. He needs to continue to stay physical. He's getting a little light. There's a time or two when he's getting reached here and there like a lot of our guys, but overall he's playing extremely hard. He gives great effort, and he's getting better.
Is part of the idea kind of moving him up just to start a little faster?
Well, I think he brings us a little more, little more juice and little more quickness in there, and trying to get some pressure on the passer and those kind of things.
Mark, what was your evaluation of D.R. Rosenthal's?
Dare was just okay this past week. He got dinged up early and didn't seem to, probably play his best game. Mm-hmm.
That is Nasir back this week, and will he kind of immediately factor in that offensive side?
Yeah, it's yet to be determined whether Nasir will be back this week or not. But at some point he could work his way in. But Jeremy will be ready to go.
Mark, you mentioned Dan Mullen in the beginning. I think last season Florida threw at 56% of their downs, and now obviously this year a much more run-heavy team. I guess kind of how impressive is it for them to kind of flip from what they were doing last year and be so successful this year?
Yeah, it is. You look at the talent that he had last year with the quarterback and the tight end and wideouts and the guys he had. I mean, obviously, they were a handful, and this year they're a handful in a different way. This is a lot of the identity of Dan, of the teams that we faced way back when he was at Mississippi State and with Dak and those kind of guys. They have quarterbacks that could run and throw. Very impressive, it's really always been that way. I mean, last year I know was a little different, again, with the talent that he had, but in general, it's always started with a physical run game.
Is there a position group which has maybe exceeded expectations for you a little bit through 4 games, or maybe not have exceeded to get where you think they should be?
I really don't care to single out any one group one way or the other, to be honest with you. I don't feel like maybe any of those group merits a pat on the back. I mean, I appreciate them as a group. In the same way, conversely, I don't feel like I need to call out any group at this point in time. Yeah.
The last 2 games, offense has gotten off to really hot starts. Feels like the script is there. How do you extend that?
Well, a lot of it is self-induced in that we can't do. I think we got a little off track this past week being backed up. It's not an excuse, but, I think one of the possessions we're backed up, we got a couple first downs, created some decent field position, got a punt. Another one when we were backed up, we didn't get a first down. We go 3 and out, and that was a bleed from the -3. And then I think we had one punt early in the second quarter, and then we kind of got back on track. And then the fumbles jump in. We go with a long drive, end up with a field goal, but get it really close to scoring a couple times. Good drives, another good drive, and then fumble. I mean, that doesn't help anybody. That really hurts, getting in a routine. The minute you feel like we're starting to maybe hopefully wear them down a little bit and get some good drives going, we get turnover. And that's going to stall anybody.
DeAndre made
And the first time we do get good field position, we go third play, or was it early? We get the pick. We finally get field position because we stop them on downs and then we throw the pick. But go ahead.
DeAndre made the comment after the game that they view those quick change situations more as opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, it used to be you kind of see guys'
Yeah.
heads go down, but do these guys have a different mindset about?
Yeah, I think we've done a good job in general in the past, and we prepare and talk about that a lot. It says a lot about those guys and their character and their leadership. They went right back out there and had huge stops, and I want to say both of them were stops on downs, if I'm not mistaken, and late. Both of them were stops on downs. I mean, those are back to turnovers. To me, I know it doesn't show up that way on the stat sheet, but to us, that's turnover. When they went for it 3 times right around midfield, I want to say the -44 and the +47, and then one other around the 45. I mean, that's huge. I mean, those are turnovers.
Are you surprised at some of their decision making?
I don't want to, I don't want to put that out there and make it a headline. I mean, I could only control what I do. I mean, I was pleased with the result.
Mark, you talk about being physical. You brought that up today. You brought it up at halftime coming off the field.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about it a lot here. Obviously, I got to think that's going to be a key this week against Florida, but you can't just talk about it. How do you as coaches make it more than just talk? How do you make it a mindset?
Well, it's also more than, physicality. I mean, toughness is the desire to prepare, each and every day, all through the week. And so, there's a lot more that goes into it than just physically. When we have effective runs, a lot of time, of course, they're physical and finishing and playing hard and playing through the whistle and the backs are running hard, but it's also executing and targeting the right guys and doing the right things and being on the same page. And when we do that, we're effective. And so I think it comes with a great deal of preparation. And, of course, it's a mindset. And it'll be a real challenge because this is, one of the most physical teams in the country. There's no question. I mean, you sit there and look at, them and Alabama going at it. You got to have a lot of respect for those two teams. And they played them to an incredible game. And, you don't do that unless you're very well coached and very good in all areas.
How much of that in your kids is the confidence of knowing they're prepared properly?
Well, I think it always comes that way. I talked about it last week, coming off a game maybe where our expectations, for ourselves weren't met and how we played. You could either, put your head down, be defeated and have a defeated mentality, or you could go out and gain confidence by the way you prep and the way you play and your attitude. And I felt like our guys responded. And now, we just got to continue to do those things. We got to focus on the details of the mistakes of the things that we're doing. I have no problem with our guys' attitude and their effort. We need to execute better.
Mark, after the game, it looks like you had a great sense of relief that you got out of there with the victory. Describe that sense of relief you showed.
I guess you could call it relief. You could probably put a lot of terms on it, but yeah, you use that word. I didn't, but yeah, I think it's fair to say that always, there are times in that game when you get a little, that's why we do this. I mean, the end result is what it is, but it's always fun preparing and overcoming obstacles. You never know what's going to come at you, and we certainly didn't anticipate fumbling 2 times in a row, 2 possessions in a row right there, but we had the ability to overcome it, and I felt a great deal of gratitude to our players for responding.
What does it say? I mean, for this group to win 3 games the way it has,
Yeah.
despite all these obstacles.
Yeah. I love the group, and we talked about it a lot last week, about really trying to put it together for us, and I'm not saying we went into it thinking we were ever going to beat anybody by a lot of. That's not the goal. The goal is to just play your best football, and we talked last week about not having those letdowns, not whether it's mentally, physically, or whatever, and really trying to push and play a complete game. I think you saw that on one side of the ball. And offensively, again, we did some good things, but then the penalties or the turnovers really stopped some momentum. But we always talk about handling adversity. If you're going into an SEC road game, you could almost guarantee some type of adversity, and how are you going to respond to it? And I talked about that. Our players, obviously, we can win close games. We've shown that we could do that. I'd sure like to win one, by not 1 possession game, but it is what it is. We prepare, the best we can.
Mark, you talked about playing the best football. Does that also mean playing complementary football?
Yeah, I thought we played much better complementary football this week. You heard me talk a week ago here. That was definitely the worst we've ever played for each other, the week prior. And this week we complemented each other very much. And that's just, it's hard to define exactly those moments, but I think you could understand that when we get a turnover, defense steps up and, maybe offense needed if they're backed up, just get a couple first downs, punt it, and you know what I mean. Just we flip the field with a stop on downs and just things of that nature. We played much better.
You guys, like you said, you've gone up against Todd Grissom a bunch of times. This will be Liam's first time going up against him. Are there ways you guys can help him with his game plan, given your experience going up against Todd?
Todd, I don't know. That's tough. I mean, Liam is a very intelligent guy, and will watch all of that and have to make his own conclusions. I mean, we'll try to help in a lot of ways, but to Todd's credit, he really will change things up a lot too. He really does. He does a nice job, and can be, say this in a complimentary way, can be unpredictable, at times, and does a nice job.
Mark, if you look at the Kentucky-Florida series during your tenure, I think you can make a case that you're literally 4 plays away from having beaten them 5 times. A, how frustrating is it to have played them so tough with so little to show for it? And B, is there any way to draw some confidence from that you guys have been in the game with them so much?
Well, I think our players, I don't need to, because we're not in the moral victories. I think our players know that we can play with anybody if we play well. And I think that's the point where we got to, we've gotten to as a program, but we still have to do that. We have to have a great week. We have to play well. We have to prepare well. We got to control what we can and execute at the highest level. And then, then maybe you do need a bounce here or bounce there. Or sometimes, you need the ball to bounce your way, and or get a call at the end of the game. I said I winked at you on that. So, yeah. So.
I know early in the game they punted one that Josh would have to come from across the field, but he let it bounce and it took a hell of a roll.
Yeah.
How much do you leave that to their judgment? What are their instructions in this situation? Because that would have been a risky catch, I think.
Exactly. And that one, he was really making a great effort. I thought he saw it off the foot and was trying to get to the ball. And there was traffic in front of him. So I think at that point, it's hard because our guys are blocking too. They don't see exactly where it's at. So there is the opportunity to run into your own defenders, run into them. I mean, he is protected if he gives a fair catch, but that's up to him whether he can get there or not. Of course, we coach that to get there, and it's a lot easier when guys aren't running up on him. But in that heavy traffic, sometimes it is excusable, and sometimes it's not. And that's. It just depends on the situation, the punt, and what it looks like, so.
Teams are really going after Carrington early in the season, and saw him kind of play well in some big moments on Saturday. What was kind of the message throughout that? Because I have a feeling they're going to keep going after the young guy.
I really like the way he's got a great competitive nature about him, and has really, stepped up and played well. And he competes, and he's getting better with every opportunity. He realizes in these games, as he plays more and more reps and is in one-on-one situations, the stronger the base, the technique that he needs to play with, and and I think he's very conscientious and is working at it.
Mark, that video of DeAndre and Tink on the sideline has gotten a lot of attention from fans. What was kind of your take when you saw that?
I didn't. I had no clue about it until maybe late last night or whatever, and so I talked to Tink, about it directly, and I'll talk to DeAndre about it today. But I went down and talked to Tink this morning, and Tink was all smiling about it, and and I wanted to make sure he was okay and didn't feel. And he said him and DeAndre were laughing about it after the game and had words and. He loves DeAndre and DeAndre loves him, and no hard feelings. And I better just stop there, because if I try to defend somebody, somebody's going to roll me over about it. But Tink's message was, that's a sideline, that's football. He's been here a long time, and that was his words. Yeah, that's right.
Mark, you've gotten what you wanted out of your non-conference schedule, leading into SEC. How do you expect that mindset to change with expansion as you kind of gravitate possibly to more SEC games?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, Mark's back there. He could answer that question, but yeah, I mean, I haven't had time, since the announcement with Oklahoma and Texas coming into the league, to really sit down and analyze the future scheduling. Mark does a lot of that, and so we'll talk about it and address it.
Mark, what's the mindset of Will Levis at this point?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I didn't sit there and have a conversation with him afterwards, but I anticipate him to walk in today like a beast, like he always does, just locked in. I mean, he puts a lot of pressure on himself, and he's always amped up, and he's ready to work. So I don't think there's anything that's going to slow him down. I mean, he's done some good things, he's done some bad things, but he's going to get better with every opportunity, and he doesn't strike me as a guy that he worries about his confidence, so.
Does Will kind of have a quick amnesia thing? Okay, so
That's the way I perceive it. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and get in his head, and I'm sure Liam isn't either. I have all the confidence in the world in him, and I know our team does.
How much more does Florida's Q run game just pile into the fits of the run defense?
It's definitely shows up. You've heard me talk about it for years. I mean, they do a nice job of buying time and scrambling and making people miss. And then they have the designed runs as well. So, you add that in there, and, it could be a handful. It looks like the backup will be healthy. He's a big, strong, fast, good-looking athlete, and can throw the ball exceptionally well, too. So, both good players.
Isaiah Cummings had a couple of nice blocks in the run game.
Very much.
Is that true? And how's he coming along in that area?
Yeah, very much so. Did a great job. Some of those that you saw were basically like a trap where he was coming from the opposite side. I mean, you could see him really running and also making some intelligent plays. The one time he went up inside and kicked out for the touchdown. The other time he wrapped around all the way outside, and it's hard to simulate all the different looks, but really played fast and played hard, played physical, and so did the rest of our tight ends. I thought Brendan and Justin really did some good good things as well.
Do you feel more of a target on your back starting off 4-0 and 2-0 in SEC play?
I don't know. I mean, we don't look at it like that. I mean, I tell our players if they want to play in big games, they got to handle the things that are right in front of them, and that's what we have to do. We got to handle today, handle this week, and if you want to be in big games, you got to take care of business.
One day, there's some talking about his hamstring ahead of the game. He looked pretty fine to me, but I know he went back on the returns. But he 100% or 95%?
Yeah, he's available to play. I mean, at this point, there's nagging things with people, and it's fair to say he has something nagging him.
Will was asked about this after the game too. I mean, they have quite a connection.
Yeah.
You worry about him getting lasered in on him at times?
Not at all. Not at all. There were times I wish he was lasered in on him more this past week. No. I think, in this offense, there's the ability to distribute the football. Guys got to do what they're supposed to do. He's got a very, very high football IQ, and he's got a great competitive nature about him.
Mark, I think everybody in Kentucky knew Wardell was a big player, but is he actually even a little better maybe than?
I didn't know exactly what, I knew he was a good player from recruiting him out of high school. You could watch the film at Nebraska and know he was a very good player. I don't want to use the word surprised. I am extremely pleased with him, and I love his attitude. I love his competitive nature. He's very unselfish. He works very hard. He's, all about the team, and I love that part of it. And yes, by the way, he's very talented. But I love his work ethic and also his instincts. You've heard us talk about Lynn about that a lot, just his football IQ, and they're different people, but both of them are intelligent on the field.
Was the quarterback run for Will, his legs, do you think you used the right dose, I guess, the right enough
Yeah, I mean, I think there was probably a read or two that he could have maybe done something different. But the pull that he made, I think it was a second and long, if I'm not mistaken, got us a, 12 or 15 yards or whatever it was a big run, and, a critical third down. And we dressed it up one time and had him at running back and Chris at quarterback, and ran the Q power, with the fake with that, rather than have Will run the Q power. And it was so fast they didn't even see who was who, where, and that was an effective play. So, I think it was a good mix.
Is it kind of like, almost dialing up your shots, because your deep shots, because you don't want to run them too much into the ground, but it's...
Well, people know. I mean, everybody we play, they're well coached, and they know. It's run, off certain splits, off certain action. It's going to be run or play action and shots. And I mean, knock on wood, but I mean, we've done a good job over the years of cutting off shot plays, against people and not letting them create those big plays off certain looks. And and that's what they're going to do as well. And then it comes down to executing some things, getting good, spacing in our routes. And there were some plays in there where we weren't precise and didn't create the right spacing. There's times when they were covering us. So there's a lot of things that go into it. But on the interception of Wandell, I felt like we didn't run a very good route opposite him. Josh could have been cleaner on the dig and probably got the ball. And so, those are things we got to get cleaned up.
Time for a couple more questions. Just got Brody and Luke Fortner is SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week for the second time this season.
Mark, I remember back in SEC Media Days, you were talking about how pleased you were with being able to use the transfer portal to fill as many holes as you did. Given how well that's played out these first 4 games with those key transfers, does that encourage you even more to use that moving forward? How do you approach that, balancing it with your high school guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely look forward to finding the right people to complement our football team and help our team. I think we did a really good job of finding guys that fit in and came here and are helping us. And if that can help us in the future, we'll do it.
The sort of in-state recruiting goes, O-line has been kind of a place where a lot of success has been in some other positions are starting to pick up. That, going back to Wandell, how important is it to have a guy like him come in, from this state and play as well?
I think it's very important, not only from this state, but just at that position, and we all understand that. And for all the people that used to use that against us in recruiting, I understand that. I mean, we're going to use a lot of different, anything we can as well. But I think now there's no stopping us from recruiting talented wide receivers and getting that speed. And even if you may say other people have higher numbers, you could look at what we do and what we want to do. And as we get better wide receivers, as we get greater skill and speed, we will open things up even more and more. And that comfort level of what we're doing is getting better and better.
Thank you, folks.
So, anybody out there that could run 10-3, we need you. All right.